Welcome in, folks, to another great episode of I've Got a Theory. I'm your host, Henish. I'm here with my friend, Dr. Debbie Bright. Dr. Bright, welcome on.
Henish, thank you for having me. It's going to be a great little chat today, I think.
So today, we're going to learn a little bit about how testing your stool sample, right, your morning ablutions, can really help your health. And you might learn some things about that, right?
Absolutely.
And you're a health, fitness, and nutrition expert, along with other qualifiers that we'll get into. But you really know your stuff. You've researched this a lot for your own benefit and also for the benefits of your clients and the people that look to you for advice on this kind of stuff and professional help on consultations on this. And so ideally, the goal is that by testing your stool, you can learn a lot about your health.
You can learn so much about your health, and especially we're seeing some new research come out that really supports health in this pandemic as well. So I think that's going to be a big nugget for the listeners.
Okay, so tell me your theory. Give me the full version of it.
Okay, so I've got a theory that if everyone got a GI map stool lab, right, so poop test, that they'd better understand why they're struggling with the bloating, the weight gain, and even autoimmune conditions that we see plaguing Americans today.
Wow. Okay. And this is interesting because it's the second time I'm covering this topic personally as an interviewer this week. And so I've been doing a little bit of Googling myself to try to learn about this because honestly, I didn't know that this was a valid thing to do. I mean, I knew there was tests like this. I knew there was pee tests. I figured there was poop tests, but I didn't know the extent of what they could research and tell you about this. So it seems like it's pretty robust, because when I looked into it, I was like, maybe I check with my doctor, but his version is basically you're either healthy or you've got unhealthy stuff and maybe you need an antibiotic. And I don't like taking pills. So that's not necessarily what you're covering. You've got something more in depth. So tell me about this process. I mean, I get, it's kind of, we don't need the TMI of how to collect it, but tell me about what they do with it and then what they find out. What are some examples of what they uncover from the results?
Right. So, okay, Henish, whenever I get a notification I've gotten a patient's stool lab back, I immediately go in and we look to see if there's any viral or bacterial infections that might correlate with, say, a patient's symptoms. And then beyond that, I also look to see if they have leaky gut. I look to see if, and with leaky gut, we're talking about the integrity of your gut lining, right? To see if you can absorb your nutrients or if that's an issue for you. I look to see, what's going on with your digestive enzymes. Is there any inflammation? So, how are you breaking down your food? How is the health of your gut responding? Are there overgrowths of bacteria or too much crowding going on that might be leading to this bloating? We hear a lot now with the term called SIBO, so small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. And we can differentiate between things like IBS or inflammatory bowel disease. And the neatest thing of all is I can even look to see if there's a ratio of certain types of bacteria present that we know now contributes to obesity. And then we can go in and work on eradicating that bacteria and improving digestive enzymes, so on and so forth, so the patient can lose weight, get rid of the bloating, have better energy, feel better, improve the health of their gut. And if we take this even a step further, I just want to let you know that yesterday, the Journal for Obesity Medicine released information or an article about how these bacteria ratios are affecting obesity and then therefore furthering how coronavirus can be affecting people through their gut lining. And if they do get it, why these people might be getting a more worse version of it. So I think that's super interesting.
Yeah, and I've heard that a lot, right? I mean, especially coronavirus is a hot topic right now, and there's probably double as much misinformation as there is information. And it seems the big thing that has stuck out is that obesity or diabetes or other pre-existing conditions like that can really exacerbate the condition of the coronavirus and make it a lot worse versus healthy people that seem to get it and then don't have any symptoms or super mild symptoms. And they're not having that same issue. So with this kind of stuff, so give me a case study example of you get a report back, it seems super extensive, right? They must be giving you 20, 50 different items to review. How do you interpret that? And then from that, how do you put together a plan of action?
Yes, exactly. So when I get the results back, the first thing I start looking for is how a person is digesting their food, because that can tell me a lot. Like if they have weakened stomach acid, we often see an uptick in a bacteria called H. pylori. And then downstream, because of something like H. pylori, which can lead to stomach ulceration and stomach cancer and whatnot if it goes untreated. And then downstream, we start to look for what we call dysbiosis. So an overgrowth of certain types of bacteria. And then I look to see, if the bacteria is there, how does it relate to certain autoimmune conditions? So certain ones present can be related to rheumatoid arthritis. That's a big one. We can also see them related to inflammatory bowel issues like Crohn's disease and whatnot. And so it's just a matter of looking to see like what's present, and then how does it relate to our digestive enzymes being strong or weak, and then furthering on to say like, okay, what might be causing these weaknesses? Is are you having hypothyroidism? Are you with how's your liver and your gallbladder, right? And I can kind of assess what's going on with these other organs just by looking at what's going on with a trending high or trending low amount of healthy gut bacteria in the stool lab.
So talk to me about then what? Then now, are you prescribing a certain diet? Are there, supplements they can take? I mean, I don't think you can prescribe pharmaceuticals, right? But maybe short of that, there's probably no shortage of good natural ingredients and supplements that you could take that could help you out. What's that look like?
Right. So, as a functional medicine physician with a chiropractic background, you are correct in that I personally do not prescribe. Now, we will look at the extensiveness of these bacterial overgrowths, and I might say, hey, this is a pretty big deal. Let's work together with your general practitioner. And we may go the antibiotic route, though I do try to steer away from it. And in that case, we would go more herbal, botanical blends, right? Things that support the immune system, but do eradicate and kill off the bacteria. But, I always want to point out, because I'll have patients that come in and it's like, I'll take a pill, but I won't change my diet. And before we jump into any overt supplementation or antibiotic approach, it's, we have to look at what's feeding this stuff. So if people are eating the standard American diet, lots of sugar, alcohols, sugars, processed and packaged foods, well, we know that while your stomach is full, your body is starving. And it just comes down to that stuff is feeding this unhealthy bacteria, and that bacteria is competing with you for your nutrient absorption. So they may be eating more of the calories in your food versus you're getting them, which is kind of a whole reason why we say calories don't even really matter anyway, right?
Yeah. So you didn't just fall into this. You had to have your own personal journey to get here. I mean, this isn't something that you grew up in or studied necessarily right out the bat, because you didn't always have the same condition or physical condition that you're in now. Tell me a little bit about your journey.
Yep. So, like I said, I went to chiropractic school. And when I was in chiropractic school, I also worked on my master's nutrition. So I've always had, a passion for nutrition, but it was probably more along the lines of, when we're younger, it's a vanity metric, right? But now 7 years ago, I moved to San Diego and I got really sick, and I kept having these recurring urinary tract infection symptoms. So I kept going to the doctors, and it would just be antibiotic after antibiotic. I mean, I think I did 11 or 12 rounds. It was something really crazy. And from that point forward, my gut was never the same. I could eat lettuce, I would bloat, I would have lots of pain in like my lower left side of my abdomen, lots of colon inflammation. So I took an interest of studying more functional medicine, more of a gut health approach. I do a lot with weight loss with patients, but also I see people that are having fatigue issues and skin health issues and rashes. And we know that there's a gut skin connection, a gut brain connection. All this stuff is connected. So at the root of it, if you work on healing the gut, then you work on healing symptoms that most people don't really realize are affected by these gut issues.
What does functional medicine mean?
Functional medicine looks at the body as a whole, right? So maybe, let's say, for example, a cardiologist really only focuses on heart health. But in functional medicine, we look at how is your liver affecting your gut? How is your gut affecting your thyroid? How is this all affecting your brain? How is it affecting your skin? Because we know that every cell in the body communicates and talks to one another. And so when we see something start to share the body, so functional medicine is about addressing the body as a whole.
Got it. Okay. Yeah. So how does that relate to like a homeopathic medicine doctor?
They definitely go hand in hand because we like to look at different approaches outside of just the conventional medicine model, which unfortunately usually just revolves around taking a pill, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And it's crazy because my wife jokes because she knows our family physician well because she's a physical therapist and they refer business. So they communicate more so than just our own family health. She's like, oh man, he's quick to prescribe stuff anytime he wants. Like anytime I need a pill, he's like there, it's at the pharmacy. And sometimes that's nice if you know what you need and your doctor, is looking at you holistically. But I know for the most part, I try to avoid anything at the pharmacy. And I'm starting to learn myself that what you eat can make all the difference. Now, let me ask this question because I've seen a lot of this and seen some stuff on it, and I've been really tempted to do it myself. And I look to you for advice because I know you're an expert at this. What do you think about fasting? 1 day, 3 days, 5 days, 21 days, these 30-day fasts that say that they can reset your gut system, bacteria and boost your immunity and have all these incredible effects once you can get through the fact that you're starving yourself because your body goes through this crazy thing that happens. Have you ever done something like that?
I've never gone as far as more than, say, 16 to 18 hours in a day. And I am a fan of the intermittent fasting because I think that we just have people eating too much too often. And one thing, Henish, you might find this super interesting, but um, when I've been working on patients with the stool labs, I went back in the research, and 4 years ago, I realized I had taken this course, and inside of there, they had some slides on this on stomach rumbling, and so
Okay.
stomach rumbling actually is something that our body will trigger to shake off this unhealthy bacteria in our gut lining, so that we can pass it on in our stool. But we know that people are always snacking and grazing and whatnot, and they never actually get to stimulating that hunger response, right? So that the shaking of it, think of it as like an earthquake, right? And the body is shaking off this unhealthy bacteria. And then when we have other things in our diet, like vitamin A, it goes in and helps keep the mucosal lining in our gut nice and slippery. So the body has this real innate way of protecting itself and keeping itself healthy. And I know I kind of just went down this tangent pathway here, so you can bring it back around, but I just thought that was cool to point out.
Yeah, I mean, I know your body is super resilient and stuff, but now as we get older, especially, and just everyone in general, should be more conscious of their health and realize that you shouldn't be eating food that you can pick up through your car window. When when there's better options available and a meal lasts 20, 10, 20, 30 minutes, get it done, get the good stuff in you and keep yourself living a long time and healthy. But it's hard when people have time constraints and stuff like that. So you got to plan and structure. So, working with you, you're getting people plans, you give people recipes, you give them meal planning ideas to get through all of this because it all starts from your gut. It all starts with what you put in your mouth is what you can not only look like, but feel like, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And to circle back on the intermittent fasting question, it kind of comes down to, I think the general population, they look at intermittent fasting in the wrong way and they think it's caloric restriction. And actually, it's just timed feeding within a window. You still need to eat the amount of food that your body needs to survive and thrive on. Because if we go too far with the intermittent fasting, or people use it for severe caloric restriction, our thyroid, which controls our metabolism, will start to think that it's in a state of starvation, right? And so then it will start to slow things down, and then people start packing on the pounds. So it's like an art and a science, right? And we want to get it right, but we don't want to take it in the wrong direction. And I see people suffering from, we call it adrenal fatigue, right? So those are maybe the people that, especially females, 12 hours, 16 hours. I don't tend to push people much beyond that unless they've really trained their body into it. But as far as gut health, you are right. It's called something, it's called apoptosis. It's when the body will trigger cell death and like essentially go in and clean up the trash. So think of New York City, lots of trash building up. Let's say that the trash trucks aren't coming around doing what they need to do. So that's how I kind of like to explain intermittent fasting. And it is good for our body to clean up, you know, these old cells and get rid of them so we stay nice and healthy.
So let's go back to the stool lab here, you know, because I'm assuming very, 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 very few people ever do this.
You're right.
But I feel like more people should do it, if not everyone.
Absolutely.
And so why isn't this more, you know, well prescribed and known, or is it starting to catch on?
I think it's more of something that's starting to catch on. You know, we do know that unfortunately, when new science comes out, it takes up to 17 years before medical schools or doctors will put it into play in their practices. And the GI map, you know, as for me, it's just something I've been using in the last like 3 years or so. I think that it is catching on. And unfortunately, I have patients that have gone through this and then they go back to their general physician and, you know, maybe their medical doctor's not trained in this information. And so they say, oh, we don't use that test. Oh, that's not valid. Oh no, we're not going to treat this. And so then the patient is really kind of torn. Like, I just spent a lot of money on getting this kind of care and investing in my health, and you're telling me that it's not valid. Then they've got me over here telling me that it is valid. So it's a little bit of tug of war right now, but I think we are going to see that shift.
So talk to me about the process. I'm interested. I want to get this done. Can I go online? Do I go to your website? How do I get a stool lab test? I'm obviously not mailing it to your house. Where does it go?
Right. So this is how this works. So the best way patients tend to reach out to me is they can get on my emailing list, which you do that by taking my weight loss awareness quiz, which is just weightlossawarenessquiz.com. And that puts you on my mailing list, and then we can communicate. Or on the flip side, I'm pretty active on social media. So Facebook or Instagram, / Dr. Debbie Bright, DrDevvieBright. I answer my DMs. You can, ask me. And then from there, whether a patient has insurance or not, there's either a cash pay. Either way, there's a cash pay. But if you have insurance, it's a little bit less. So you're looking at around $208 or upper 300s if you don't have insurance. And what happens is I go in, I order it. I just click a little button. It ships it to your house, your address. You do it in the privacy of your own home. And then you get everything inside of your kit, and you just it's either UPS or FedEx. I can't remember which one. No, they swoop in on the doorstep. They send it into the lab. I get a notification that it's been received and in processing. Then a couple of weeks later, I get another notification that it's ready. I always do a review call with the lab team just to make sure, hey, this is what I think's going on. What are you guys seeing? We collaborate. And then I create a treatment plan based on that, jump on a Zoom call just like this with the patient and do a review and then set up the plan, and then you go from there.
Okay. So what's the time frame on that?
I would say start to finish, probably about 4 weeks.
And then, so when you put together a plan, what does the plan look like? Is it just dietary? Is it supplements? What's this look like?
Yep. So if you're going to work with me on a more functional side of it, I give dietary recommendations. And then beyond that, I give you specific supplements to help, if we're eradicating the gut bacteria, or if we need to do a more immune support, which I can get a good look at how the first line of defense in the body, 80% of your immune system lives in the gut. So I get a look at that. So we can do some immune support if patients are needing it. We do the killing phase if they need to go through that. And then we do a leaky gut or gut repair phase beyond that. And so, and diet definitely plays a role in this, right? So,
Yeah.
yeah, it's a big influencer.
Are there any people that shouldn't get this kind of testing done?
I mean, we're all humans and we all poop, right? So To me, no. I mean, I don't think anyone could say that it's something you shouldn't do because we get a really good look at what's going on the inside.
Yeah, I would think that this is like diagnostics for your car or something like that. You got to know what's
Mhm.
happening to be able to fix it. Maybe you don't even know anything's broken, and that's what the gentleman that I had on earlier, talking about getting your PSA test. Would this Stool Lab also test your PSAs? Your that stands for, what's
Oh
it called?
gosh, you're
The
making me want to talk. Yeah, it's for your prostate.
prostate
No,
specific antigens. Thank
right. No, this one isn't specifically tied to that, but this one could be suggestive of other things going on in the body that you would definitely, it paves the road for like what the next steps are.
Got it. Yeah, because his key thing was like, he got diagnosed at 42, but the doctor
Mhm.
said he's probably had it growing in him for 5+ years. And they don't
Well,
recommend
no.
PSA tests until you're 45.
Well, let's look at that for a second. We know that unfortunately a lot of people go to the doctor and then they sort of believe that the day they got the diagnosis is the day that it started, right? And we know that that's not really the case. Stuff can
Right.
be brewing up to, I've seen research with, they call them predictive antibodies. So if we know that there's antibodies going on inside of the body, then now with the research, we also know that the chances are of what you'll get and when you'll get it. And some people that scares them are like, I don't want to know, but I'm a physician that says, let's stay ahead of the game here. And we also know that, in functional medicine, Henish, we say genetics loads the gun, but lifestyle pulls the trigger. So
Hmm.
I think it's freeing to know what's going on and then getting ahead of it, right? And I think that helps people achieve optimal health.
Yeah, it really seems short-sighted to say you don't want to know about what you're built of, right? And that's what this is
Yeah.
basically telling you. Well, awesome. This is super useful information. Well, how does this relate to the test that your doctor, your general practitioner, could offer in terms of just a regular hospital-style stool lab versus a GI
The
map stool lab?
the GI map just really digs in so much deeper. And I believe the GI map is going to, as it gets into more hands of people, it's really the gold standard that people should be measuring their stool labs against. It's just my favorite lab. I've used other ones, and hands down, this one just shows so much more, and it helps the physician make more connections with what's going on with the patient's symptoms and creating a treatment plan. It's just so valuable.
So between you and your regular physician, I could share the stool lab that I get with you and then share with my regular doctor. And like, by the way, I got this done and making some minor diet adjustments or something like that. And
Yeah.
maybe he could use it usefully to just log it in. Yeah. But that's the tough thing about using your regular doctor is that they always want to just keep prescribe pills to solve your problems.
Exactly. And like I said, it depends on how bad this is. Maybe we would go the antibiotic route, maybe we wouldn't. And we can definitely go the more herbal antimicrobial route for sure. That's the route I go because I don't prescribe. But yeah, if you are suffering from gas or bloating or indigestion or any of those symptoms, why just take a pill and cover that up when you can dig in deeper with a very simple lab and find out how to heal yourself from the inside out? It's my vote through and through.
Well, awesome. Debbie, appreciate you joining me. I mean, we'll tag all your different spots on here, but you were able to find you easily you've got a few different websites, right? You've got the quiz. Go ahead and give me your websites again.
Yeah, so you can jump on my emailing list through the quiz, which is weightlossawarenessquiz.com. And you can also find me on social media. I would do Instagram. My handle is Dr. Debbie Bright, DrDebbieBright.
Awesome. Debbie, appreciate you joining me on this great episode of I've Got a Theory. Really interested to hear this because this is exactly the kind of stuff that people need to be aware of because they need to do something for a couple $100 or $300 to really find out that could give you another 5, 10, 20 years of your life if you just knew what's inside you, right?
Absolutely.
Wow. Thanks so much for your time today, and thanks for joining me.
Thanks, Henish.